just a few questions.
Yes.
You have studied pharmacology or pharmacy. I don't know what is the word used in that particular college. Is it a degree in pharmacy or pharmacology?
It's a
Or
degree
pharmaceutics?
in pharmaceutics, sir. So it's a branch of pharmaceutics. It's called industrial pharmacy.
Okay, industrial pharmacy. Right. So after that, you went to Long Island near New York and studied for 2
Yes,
more
sir.
years. Am I right?
Yes,
Your
sir.
lips and that microphone, because the air that you breathe out is also getting amplified slightly.
Okay, sir.
Slightly.
Is it audible now?
It has always been
Okay.
audible, but apart from your voice, we were able to hear your breath, which may be a little jarring. So we would be interested in your voice part, but not the breath part. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So that was a post-graduation in which subject?
Sir, it is actually the undergraduation is called as B Pharmacy and the post-graduation is industrial pharmacy, sir. The post-graduation
So
was
what you
industrial
studied
pharmacy.
in USA is industrial pharmacy.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Apart from that, you also worked in the neighboring state of New Jersey
Yes, sir.
as a scientist.
Yes, sir.
And after all that for all Andhra and Telangana people, a heaven. You left the heaven. You lost the paradise. Why? Why did you come back?
Sir, in my job, after a point of time, I felt that I was not growing as a person in that particular job of junior scientist. So then I decided to switch my jobs. I was thinking about some other options, but at that point of time, your civil services were announced. So then I had done a little bit of research about civil services, and then I decided that it would be helpful for me as a person for my professional growth, and I felt that civil services would be helpful for giving me better opportunities to learn and also enrich my experiences. And for me, staying in US was a sort of learning ground, sir. I was not there for probably the other tangible effects. So that is why I had chosen that civil services would give me better opportunity to sort of improve myself, and it would also help me get a proper recognition.
Civil services have been in India for a very long time. In any case, the IAS, the IPS, and the IFS specifically are there since 1948. So
Yes, sir.
I'm sure you must have heard of it even while still in Visakhapatnam, while still in your school. So anyway, your optional is zoology.
Yes, sir.
Right? Zoology.
Yes, sir.
Are there no
Yes, sir.
pharmaceutical? So are there no pharmaceutical subjects as optionals in the UPSC list? They give a large number of
No,
So,
pharmaceutical subjects are there. For example, chemistry is a part of that. However, I am more interested towards zoology, and that is why I have chosen that subject because of the subjects overlap and also my inherent interest.
okay. Very good. Now the next person will take over. Dr. Gopal Garu.
Yes. Yes, Ms. Sahitya. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. You would have invested a lot of money to pursue your postgraduate course in USA. Have you recovered all the investment that you have made on your PG course?
Sir, I would say that I have recovered almost 70 to 80% of it through my working and also through the graduate assistantship that I got during my college time. That is, it's a sort of waiver that is provided by the college. So through that, I have recovered about 70 to 80%. And the remaining 20% was the one that was left through our educational loan, which my parents have repaid, sir.
All right. Are you from the same PUSAPATI family which ruled the Vijayanagaram Samsthan and which manages the Manasa's Trust and Simachalam Temple and so on?
Sir, we share the same surname, but we don't have any relationship with them, sir.
What do you have to say about the succession claimed by a female in that family as a citizen of Visakhapatnam and as a person with the same? Do you support the claim being made by the women of PUSAPATI family to claim succession when the earlier tradition said that only males are supposed to be heir apparents?
Sir, as a citizen of Visakhapatnam, I do not support the claim of Sanchayita, of the daughter of Anand Gajpati Raju, because it is leading to a feud and it is also resulting in the disturbance of the trust itself, which is a home to several educational institutions. And it is impacting the activities of colleges like MR College. So this has also resulted in
disappeared, disconnected.
Yeah, both.
Even otherwise, the transmission is not really qualitative.
She is in Endada, which is the very edge of, it's a fisherman's village, as Professor Gopal knows. So it is on the way to Bhimili.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, you're back. Only the voice and the image also.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You're able to hear.
I don't know how it got. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now we can see you also.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Is this Endada on the way to Rishikonda, somewhere near there?
Yes, sir. The same place. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe internet connectivity is a problem. Anyway, back to Dr. Gopal Garu.
Yeah, you continue.
Yes, sir. So then I believe that all this feud is essentially for the control over the land, the 22,000 acres of the land that has been there, and it is to assert their domination over that. And because of the death of their father itself, and now there has been a tussle between both the brothers' families, and they're trying to turn it into, that is, they're trying to turn this developmental thing or the enterprising thing into a family feud. So this is very unfortunate, sir, in turn of events. So it is not good overall for the management of the places. It could be Simhachalam or Mansa's Trust.
If I say that Sanchayita has brought the issue of male or female heirs maybe 10, 15 or 20 years ahead of times, because that family has no male heir apparent as of today, what do you say?
So the question of female heir or male heir would depend upon the capabilities of the person in order to manage such institution. So more than the gender issue, it is important that they have the efficiency, experience, and the overall managerial skills to bring together such institutions. So if a female heir is more capable, then it could be welcome. However, if it is not, and if it is only for power mongering, then there needs to be a change in that, or it does not have to go by female heir or male heir.
But don't you think that there are professional managers or officials managing Simhachalam temple and the chairman is only titular? And similarly in Mansa's Trust, there are professionals managing the trust and the institutions, like the principals or the heads of the institutions, and not the chairman, which again is a title and without any day-to-day responsibilities to manage. What is your response?
Yes, sir. It could be symbolic in nature. However, it also depends. Suddenly, I believe that she has come out of blue. Sanchayita Reddy, because her mother has been divorced, and she was also allotted the compensation. But now there is a sort of vacuum, and she is trying to come and occupy that place. So it is just like an exercise of name, or using that powerful name rather than the intentions to manage these institutions which have been held in high honor. So that is my take on it, sir.
On this issue, finally, do you blame Sanchayita, or do you blame the government who has appointed Sanchayita as the hereditary trustee chairman of the institution?
Sir, I do not blame Sanchayita as such, because she alone could not have done it. She should have done it with the complicity of the people who are a part of administration as well. So there should have been a deliberated discussion amongst the family so that it does not bring disrepute to the institutions as a whole. So it is the lapse on the side of administration for taking a high hand in this.
Okay.
Gopal Garu, I have no knowledge nowadays. Isn't Ashok Gajpati Raju still alive?
No, he is alive.
Oh, then the question of heir doesn't come. He is the legal heir.
Yeah, that's why I said she is putting the issue 20 years ahead, because after 20 years he will have no main heir.
Yeah, but as of now, there is Ashok Gajpati Raju is very much alive, and his claim is stronger than that of Sanchayita if there is a legal dispute.
Yes, there is a trust provision that only a male person can be the chairman, but the government thought it otherwise, discontinued him.
That's because he belongs to Telugu Desam, and this lady probably has just joined YSRCP.
Yeah, so Sahitya avoided that very, very carefully. Okay, coming to your basic core area of specialization, industrial pharmacy. There is a pharmacy in Visakhapatnam. There are several chemical industries in Visakhapatnam. And we have seen several accidents taking place, be it in Jawaharlal Nehru Pharma City or LG Pharma,
Polymers.
And you have also seen accidents in several parts of the country in the past 2 to 3 decades. Now, what do you think were the reasons, the main reasons for these accidents, and what do you think is the failure that can be attributed to the regulatory authorities?
Sir, the reasons are manifold, sir. So first, if we talk about the case of LG Polymers, it was shut down for a period of time and then it was reopened. So the personnel or the technicians who were involved in operation of that particular unit did not possess sufficient skills or experience to handle the opening, and they also could not avoid a disaster. So it was the lapse of technicians, as in they did not have the technical skill. And second of all is the absence of an oversight or otherwise a robust regulatory mechanism that would have periodic audits and that would let the industries also allow course correction. So there was no strict enforcement on the industrial oversight part. And if we look at the overall governance also, there could be Industrial Explosives Act and the several other acts. However, the inspection is not done in a timely manner, and the industries also let go in they operate through a lax attitude. So these have contributed to it, sir. And apart from that, the proximity of the people to that industry violating the norms. So the permissions that were given to the houses also. So they have actually accentuated the human disaster part. So that is what I feel have been the failures, sir.
Do you know the difference between consent for establishment and consent for operations to be given by the regulatory body, that is the Pollution Control Board?
Sir, I only understand them by the phrases, but I don't know the specific this thing, sir.
All right. The Jawaharlal Nehru Pharma City had established a common effluent treatment, CETP as you call it, because individual units will find it extremely expensive to treat their waste. Now, do you mean to say that India doesn't have expertise in running CETPs, and therefore in this pharma city, for want of skills of the operators, the accident took place in that solvents unit?
Sir, talking about the skills of the effluent treatment plant operators, sometimes what happens is there are multiple shifts, sir. So during those multiple shifts, the most experienced people are not available, and there are certain contract-based workers, and there are certain people who do not either understand the standard operating procedures or who have not been trained properly. So when these people run such shifts and such machines, so during the VRs or during the off hours, there could be certain accidents, and then they cannot avoid, sir. But I don't think that as such all the people are unskilled, but then the training procedures and standard operating procedures are sometimes not given due importance.
Can you tell me the difference between the regulation for treating the hazardous waste coming out of the chemical industries in US and those coming from the units in India?
Treatment of hazardous waste.
Yes.
Okay, sir. And the regulation part of it.
Yes.
Sir,
difference between US regulation and Indian regulation.
Sir, I don't know the exact specific term, sir. I have seen the procedures, but I don't know the regulation that goes into it.
Yeah. Have you heard of treatment, storage, disposal facilities required to be put up on individual basis or for all the industries together in India as a statutory requirement?
No, sir. I have not heard of
that. What about US? How do they dispose of your hazardous waste in chemical units?
Yes, sir. See, I have only the idea that when I was working in the laboratory, there were 2 microbiology students as well, sir. So periodically there would be a technician who was well equipped both in uniform and also with respect to the equipment. He would come and then he would take that biohazardous waste in a specific it's a container, and then he would take away, and there would be labeling also, sir. And after that, as far as I know, the technician would take it to this plant and they would either subject to incineration or they would place it in a landfill that is extremely secured.
All right. Finally, please tell me whether the privatization of the Visakhapatnam steel plant is going to make the plant get out of its current problems.
Sir, privatization of steel plant, in my opinion, would definitely help this organization because of the previous experiences that it has had. For the past 5 to 6 years, the plant has been running in losses. Actually, there have been certain accounts claiming that it has had profit in 1 or 2 years. However, even before that also, it was running in losses, and there were certain incentives or there were certain bonuses that were being given to the employees at the cost of running the company itself. So there was a huge debt burden on that. Now, privatization would definitely bring in some sort of efficiency in the production, and it would also cut down the size of those employees who do not marginally contribute to the productivity of the steel plant. However, the issue of the lands of the people who have given it to the steel plant would have to be addressed in an authentic manner without violating their rights.
Could you analyze the percentage-wise contribution of the administrative costs, the costs of procuring raw material, and so on and so forth, for the losses being made by the steel plant?
The administrative costs and percentage, sir, I don't know about the numbers, sir.
But then how can you say that the ex gratia, which is a deferred wage given by the management to the workers, is the reason for incurring of losses by the plant?
Sir, that is one of the big reasons.
All right.
Okay, sir.
Right. Sahitya, you will studied and lived in US for some time.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I am sure when someone moves from one country to another country, it does make some difference, doesn't it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. what kind of an impact did it make? I mean, if at all it made any impact on Sahitya in terms of, as a person and as a woman?
So the first impact that it had on me was a beautiful sense of empowerment that it has given to me, because until that point of time, I was living with my parents, or I was constantly under the guidance of my parents. So when I had gone to US, I had to live on my own, and this has given me a sense of alertness, because you will have to be constantly on the vigil. You have to know how to do things and how you can manage everything on your own. And apart from that, it has also given me the opportunity to interact with people who are from different backgrounds. It could be from different nations, or it could be from the same nation but different cultural setups. So it has helped me understand their ways of thinking and the kind of approach they have towards work and education and life as such. And third of all, it has given me, it has reinforced the trust within myself, sir, within my capabilities, and it has helped me understand my mistakes, which would probably be not excused. So I have learned how to work, and then I have learned how to think. So these are the things that I have learned.
So Sahitya has rediscovered her potential.
To some extent, sir.
Can
Yes.
we put it that way?
Yes, sir. To some extent, yes, I did manage to rediscover
Okay,
myself.
good. I mean, looking at an average American woman and an Indian woman, do you think Indian women are more male dependent or male dominant?
Yes, sir. Comparatively, Indian women in most parts are dependent on male, or they have been groomed or conditioned in such a way that even if they do not have to, or even if they don't contribute economically or otherwise in the decision making, it would be taken care by a man. It could be a father or a brother or a husband. And they also believe that they are sort of fragile, and they are sort of immune, they are non-immune to the workings of the world, so they will have to be protected. So it's a sort of protection syndrome that they have around them.
So where does the problem lie? Why is it so actually?
So the problem lies in the family itself, the way they are, the upbringing is there right from the childhood, the kind of grooming or the conditioning that they get. So it is also reinforced by the various norms and the traditions, the marital age, and it is also reinforced by this popular culture, which depicts the heroes as the superpowers or the super gods, and heroines are always the damsels in distress. And of course, apart from the popular culture, it is the weakness of a girl is repeatedly brought to the fore, and it is also told that you are not supposed to laugh, or you're not supposed to probably study too much.
It lies in the way we bring up our female children in the house. So it has
Yes,
got
sir.
to do more with the socialization process itself.
Yes, sir. The core
Okay,
of
now
it lies there.
visualizing yourself as a potential public servant, and also visualizing that you have multiple roles to play in public domain. Now, one of the tasks for you would be to launch a campaign of empowering women. Where do you begin and how do you go about it?
Sir, if I will have to launch a woman empowerment campaign as a public servant, then okay, so the first thing that I would like to start with is I would ask them to express their opinions in a frank manner. So be it the kind of food that they eat, or the costumes that they wear, or the kind of choices that they will have to make. So first, it all starts by expressing their opinions, to not be fearful about the repercussions of what might happen. And second of all, I would like to start by understanding their thought processes. That is, I would ask them to understand themselves and to decide what is the best choice for them. And of course, I would ask them to, I would focus upon the key education sector, wherein they will get at least functional knowledge of certain subjects and have those life-saving skills. So I think skilling and sort of the health aspects also I would like to focus upon, sir.
I mean, assuming that you have a task on hand to explain to a normal or average woman, quote unquote, on the street about what is woman empowerment, how would you explain? Because persons like you and me, with all our kind of exposures, we understand, or at least we presume we understand. But suppose you are now given the task of conveying this, concept to an ordinary woman. Yeah, women have to be empowered, and this is what empowerment means. How would you explain?
So for her, I would explain that women empowerment is finding time to be yourself, finding time to explore yourself and take your decisions that determine your destiny yourself. So women empowerment, I would try to tell to her that please make time for yourself, please understand what you want out of life, and don't be afraid of expressing your opinions and taking those little steps that would help you in your individual progress. Please don't be too much dependent or cater your entire time to other people. Always have a time of your own and explore yourself.
Okay. Slightly linked to what the previous member had discussed about this succession issue. You have come back to India and you have been living here, and also you have prepared for this exam, and this is your fifth attempt. So I guess you have your fingers on Indian society and the changes that are taking place. And in so far as women's inheritance rights are concerned, our lawmakers have brought out a new law. Are you aware of succession rights?
Yes, sir. The recent Supreme Court judgment also had come, giving the co-parcenary rights to the women.
What do you mean by co-parcenary rights?
So if they are born to the same parent, then irrespective of the death of the parent, they shall inherit the property rights. No
what
matter
was the position earlier to the judgment?
Sir,
Any
earlier
idea?
to this judgment, if I don't remember it properly, sir. I have a vague idea of it, but then I don't remember. Yes.
No, not really. And now you see you are into pharmacy and you have studied microbiology, biochemistry, physiology. Now, let me put your knowledge of all this into the present context. Now, initially there was a lot of vaccine hesitancy, and then suddenly there is a scramble that everyone wants to get vaccinated.
Okay.
How did this change come about suddenly?
There's a break in the video, sir.
But we can hear you. You can go on.
Yes, sir. Sir, there was a break in the video, sir. I could not hear your question completely.
Yeah, okay. Now, since you are grounded in all this subject called pharmacy, pharmacology, and related
it spoke about vaccination and change, but I couldn't hear the question properly.
Yeah, initially there was a lot of hesitancy, which the media coined a new term called vaccine hesitancy and all that. People were a little indifferent that things are not going to really matter much because whether you get vaccinated or not, it's not really going to make any change.
Yes, sir. People were a little indifferent.
But then today there is a scramble for vaccination, and then people are saying the CoWIN or some app is not working. Then people are venting their anger against the government. Okay, yeah, about the inadequacy, about the supply disruptions and all that. How did this happen actually? What has happened in between suddenly? How do you look at it as, a pharmacist or a pharmacy specialist?
So talking about the first phase of vaccination, wherein the people above 60 years and the frontline workers were to get the vaccine. So that has worked in a different sense, sir. So the initial vaccine hesitancy was because of reasons like, if we look at frontline workers, there have been many interns and doctors who were not ready to take up the vaccines because of the absence of robust clinical data that was available. They were not sure about the efficacy of the vaccine, and they also did not trust in the clinical data of the vaccines. So that was the problem with them. And second, because the vaccine itself was developed within a very short period of time, about 1.5 year, which is a very short time. And second of all, there was an absence of leading by example, sir. If we take countries like the United States of America, the president himself has taken the first jab. So that brings a sort of confidence in the people that these people have taken the vaccine, and it is safe to some extent. But in our country, there has been a time lag, sir. The people present at the top rungs of the government have taken the jab after some 10 to 15 days, or the gap has also created lots of doubts among the common public. So wherein the absence of leading by example has been a problem. And third of all, sir, it might sound a little silly, but then as Indians or as people, we have this issue of muhurat, we have this issue of astrological things. So then people were finding out, I mean, people from my family, I was very surprised that they were looking at a good tidhi to go and get vaccinated, and by the time the vaccines got exhausted. So it's actually a thing to laugh at, sir, but this is a reality that we have to live in.
Yeah, fine. Right. Finally, what is this word called pharmacovigilance?
So pharmacovigilance is as the name itself suggests, it is the vigilance. That is, you're trying to monitor the drug once it has hit the market. So it is kind of looking out for the adverse drug reactions that follow any sort of drug. It could be a vaccine or it could be a normal drug. So pharmacovigilance tries to look at the side effects of the drug once it has hit the market.
But given the fact that we haven't really gone through the full cycle of clinical trials, we took this very adventurous decision of launching vaccine, and we are vaccinating people massively. But are we not really taking a big risk? What exactly is the position? How do you see it as someone trained in pharmacology and such like subjects?
Sir, we have to accept the fact that all the vaccinations that are being given and all the people who are giving the vaccinations are also a part of a very large scale study, I would say, because we are learning a lot about the disease itself and we are learning about the vaccine itself. So that is something that we will have to accept. But as far as I understand, this vaccination will definitely try to address three important things. One is the death because of corona. Second is the severe disease due to corona. And third one is the hospitalization that could occur because of corona. So vaccines, in spite of the 70% or 80% efficacy, can address these three issues, sir. So it is a sort of preventive measure, which is, I support taking vaccinations for these three reasons.
Good.
Ahitya, am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So you are from Andhra University.
Sri Vishnu College of Pharmacy is affiliated to Andhra University, sir. I have not had the pleasure to study in Andhra University, but yes, the college is affiliated to it.
Okay. So Andhra University is a very famous university. I think you might have seen the emblem of Andhra University. What does it signify?
Sir, emblem of Andhra University, I don't remember. I'm sorry, sir.
Two snakes.
Yes, snakes.
You can find snakes. Two snakes.
Yes, snakes.
Yeah, what do they
so
signify?
It is also snakes. I don't know, sir. I can't guess probably. No, I don't want to guess.
Nice. Okay. why Visakhapatnam is known as the city of destination? Who called it as the city of
Destiny.
Yeah, destiny. You're right, sir. Sorry.
Sir,
City of destiny.
Sir, it was coined by Sir C.R. Reddy. He was the Vice Chancellor of Andhra University. So he was the founding Vice Chancellor of Andhra University. He called it because he believed that Visakhapatnam had this immense potential where it could fulfill the dreams of people who come into it. So he was inclined towards that education, and with that dream only, he had this Andhra University also move from Madras to Visakhapatnam. So it is.
Madras to
When was it in Madras?
Sir, Andhra University was previously in some other place.
Guntur
Okay, sir, I think
during
I'll have
Second
to.
World War. Anyway, it was in Guntur during Second World War. It was started in Visakhapatnam and it went back to Visakhapatnam by an act of Madras State.
Madras State, yes. Sorry, sir.
No, but Madras State included huge chunks of. There were more Telugu people than Tamil people.
So
Sorry,
while Sahitya, while answering Gopal sir, you said that it is not the mistake of Sanchita in the case of Manasa trust aspect. You said that it is the others. As a civil servant, you are doing something and something is wrong, something has gone wrong. Can you say that somebody, my CM told me, that's why I did it, and hence I'm not responsible and the CM is responsible? Can you say like that?
No, sir. I should not say like that because I will also have certain discretionary powers in exercising that particular thing. So I should not directly say that it's the CM who was responsible for it.
But here, why this lady was also not responsible? She was also responsible for that. Do you agree with that?
He sponsored herself.
Final authority, but sir, but the final authority of giving a position to that trust lies with the government, sir. So then it is the person who signs the actual order will have to do that. So I believe it is
willingness. Can you make me the Prime Minister if I am not willing?
No, sir. It is not possible for someone to. But this position, she was also somewhere. She also had the intentions of asserting that position. So that is why she was more than eager to probably do that.
Yeah,
he's a social climber. Anyway, all this is off record.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So while discussing with Vivek sir, you told that your family members also waited for some Tithi, Nakshatra.
Tithi.
Tithi and Nakshatra for getting vaccination. You are a science student and moreover you worked as a scientist. Now, what is wrong with our educational system? If educated people also behave like that, what happens to the entire country?
Sir, as educated people, it is important that we have a scientific temper. So it is better if we have rationality and objectivity in our thoughts and act as per them. However, there are certain things which are beyond the realm of science, sir, and I do not object the science of astrology. I'm not objecting it. However, there are certain things which do not require such kind of exercises, that taking a vaccination or for going and visiting a hospital also, if people stick up to such things, so then it becomes very difficult for us to progress. But sometimes it is difficult to argue with your elders, and sometimes they feel that they know it better. And on the whole, I feel that for certain things, even the ISRO's chief scientist also visits Venkateshwar Swami temple, Lord Balaji's temple, before the launch of a mission. So that vindicates the stand that it is okay to be religious, but you will have to find a correct balance, as in where should this having spirituality and religious thought should not become fussiness. They should not stall your development. So you will have to find or strike a chord between both, and then you will have to understand what is more important and take a decision fearlessly.
We are aware that in Article 51 AH, we made this as a fundamental duty. Okay, now is it not the duty of you people educated, you are a scientist also, to convince the elders that this is not the right way? The right way is to go by what? Go by the right thing. Okay, so but being a scientist, you might have convinced your parents. What is wrong with that?
Yes, sir. As an educated person, I should and I do try my level best to convince them. However, what happens is sometimes even we do not tend to, or I do not tend to over argue because of the belief that the vaccine is going to be there for some time at least. That is, it is not going to, we are not going to exhaust the resources. It's okay. We'll, if not this week, we'll just go to the next week.
Okay.
However, unfortunately, the vaccine themselves got exhausted.
Okay, that is not the issue, but the issue is about the Indians. So why Indians, though we want to go for the scientific temper, whether though we made it as it's the fundamental duty, but most of the scientists, even just now we have mentioned that even for the rockets to launch, our people are going to break the coconuts. Now, why? They are scientists as far as the knowledge is concerned, the laboratory is concerned, but when it comes to home and personal life, these people are behaving just like any ordinary citizens. Now, what is wrong with this?
So when it comes to behaving at home, I think they can exercise their rights of religion or whatever customs that they have been adhering. That is not a problem, sir. But when it comes to exercising a public task or doing your duty in a public position, then it is very, very important that you have rationality of what you do. So in that case, it has to be based on science and reason. But the inherent reason for all of this to creep up is, sir, for any task to be successful, there are always odds. There is always a certain amount of risk element that is there. And so what we believe collectively is that if at all we fail in some task, then we blame it on the stars, and then we try to blame it on some other external force rather than taking the blame ourselves. We are not ready to accept the risk that is associated with it. So that is why we wait for the perfect time and perfect moment, so that we kind of lull ourselves into believing that it is the right time or an auspicious time. But once we get ready to bear the elements of risk, or once we get ready to accept the situations, then we don't have to wait for any auspicious moment. Any moment that we take a right step should be auspicious.
That means, do you recommend that we must follow different parameters or different standards for public life and different standards for private life?
Sir, I am not standards in the sense, I do not say that we should have a necessary dichotomy, but sometimes it is a part of our culture. That is, we have lived with it all our lives. So then it becomes difficult. What I do in my private space should necessarily not be the same as that of public space. There could be certain other intangible elements also. There could be some sort of persuasion from our family members and from our own understanding. So then it is okay to have our own beliefs and faiths, sir. It does not matter. But if you're in a responsible public position, then doing certain things which are seemingly irrational might send the wrong signal.
Oh,
so
your hobby is observing the animal behavior.
Yes, sir.
Okay, what is animal behavior?
Is it same as behavior of animals? Animal behavior in human beings or behavior of animals?
So she said that. So she has the animal behavior. So maybe what you said is right, sir.
We leave it to Sahitya. She's after Sahitya.
Please go on.
Yes, sir. So study of animal behavior or animal behavior is understanding the principles that underlie the actions and various things that animals, the functional, evolutionary, and cognitive aspects of animals. That is why behave.
Frozen.
Yeah.
Oh. Is it audible, sir? Now, am I?
Go on. Yeah, go on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So that is studying about animals. So we tend to understand why animals behave in a certain fashion. Let us say why they hunt during a particular time, or why they mate, or why they sometimes sacrifice themselves. So all these come under the study of animal behavior, sir.
So how does this animal behavior is useful for the human behavior?
Yes, sir. So animal behavior, studying about animal behavior actually helps us. For example, if we take, there are certain aspects which can inspire human beings also. That is, it, for me personally, I feel that from birds we can learn that it is okay to travel thousands and thousands of miles to get to your destination. You will have to have that strength and resilience to brave all conditions and all odds and go and get it, and go to a sanctuary of your own. And from tiger we can learn that we will have to be patient if we have to get something. That is, it waits for hours and hours together in ambush, and then it simply pounces on its prey. Not all times it is successful, sir. So, but in spite of that, it tries.
Did you hear the name of Desmond Morris?
Desmond Morris? No, sir. I have not heard.
Yeah, he wrote a lot of books on human behavior and the animal behavior also, like the naked ape, the human animal, like that.
Okay, sir. Okay, I don't know about this.
Right. Okay. Somshekharji.
Sahitya, I'm quite a fan of your Vizag city of destiny.
Thank you, sir.
Now, it is also now the capital of Andhra Pradesh.
Part capital.
Hello.
Executive capital.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Now, the executive capital of AP. Now,
yes,
how
sir.
good is it, or how better is it than Amaravati? If you are given a chance, how would you, attract investments to Vizag, and especially in the background of so many industrial accidents and so on? As a person responsible, how would you present Vizag as a capital?
Sir, Visakhapatnam as a capital, if we have to attract investors, then I would like to talk about the kind of history that it has had. It has been a city which has relatively been free of any sorts of communal or caste-based violence. Especially, it has been a peaceful city wherein people are mostly interested in minding their own business and growing professionally and personally. So, second of all, I would like to illustrate the geographical and the strategic importance of Visakhapatnam, because it has got a good connectivity with respect to sea, with respect to air, land, and also railway. So I would like to say that it has got the proper transportation infrastructure through which there could be no issue with logistics. And third of all, I would like to talk about the human resources that are present in Visakhapatnam, sir. We do have some decent universities and colleges which produce talented youngsters every single year, and they might be helpful for potential industrial growth. And fourth of all, I would like to talk about the strong infrastructural and industrial base that it already has, and the way those industries have been handling itself. However, coming to the point of industrial accidents have happened because of certain reasons. The lockdown has also played its part, and I would like to suggest that we have taken the measures that we will to see that there is no such incidents in the future. We will try to make it as robust as possible. So yes, sir, these would be the
okay. So did you study B Pharma in Bhimavaram College?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What is the main contribution of B.V. Raju, or that founder of that institution.
Vishnu's grandfather.
Yes,
It
sir.
was founded by
Yes,
Vishnu
sir.
only.
Yeah.
B.V. Raju is
B.V.
cement
Raju,
man.
Cement. Yes, sir. I was about to say that cement actually. So you made it easy for me. So yes, he was the cement icon.
He's a pioneer.
Vishnu Cement. Vishnu Cement.
Are they still into that business? Any idea?
Vishnu Cements.
Rasi Cements, Vishnu Cements.
I
He's
don't
a
know.
pioneer.
Okay. I don't know about the existing scenario of that cements. Sir.
Anyway, his grandson, who's now running it,
Yes.
used to have Anjani Portland Cement. He has sold it and exited. So they are no longer in cement and only on education.
Colleges, education.
Colleges, institutions. Now, as a B Pharma student who then did industrial pharmacy, went to US and all that, what is the take on, is B Pharma a good career option or no? Or what is the status of these pharmacies, drug companies, drug shops, pharmacies, quality of drugs? A lot of issues surrounding it, and especially during this crisis, pandemic, you are now finding, low quality drugs, duplicate, spurious drugs, and so on. So first is big pharmacy a career or no? Second is, if given a chance, what are the steps you can take to, control this spurious drugs and black marketing?
So the first one is pharmacy a good option? At this point of time, B Pharmacy has not managed to kind of attract the talent that it has to, because it is not well acknowledged, sir. The B Pharmacy graduates themselves are considered to be second fiddles to medical college professionals. It is mostly because the people who don't get into the medical entrance, or they don't get through the medical entrance, so they take up B Pharmacy as a backup option. And apart from that, in spite of the various subjects that we take up in B Pharmacy, the graduates themselves are not offered remunerative packages. It could be in Indian industries or it could be elsewhere also, sir. And third of all, there is a problem with the curriculum of B Pharmacy itself, because there are many colleges which have not updated the kind of subjects which are to be taught, the practical experience that they will have to be exposed to, the level of internships that have to be taken up by the students themselves. So B Pharmacy as such today will probably not be a viable option to many students depending on their aspirations. So if they look for luxurious or otherwise a comfortable salary, then they will have to wait for a long time. But if they are ready to give in those years and get into research, then they might get a good position. But that's a far-fetched decision that they will have to make. And second question is what steps I would like to take. So the steps that I would like to take to address the spurious drugs. So spurious drugs, what we have to understand that India unfortunately has got a very, very good quality medicine, but most of the medicines are being exported to the other countries. They come under the US FDA regulations or the regulations of countries like UK. But the medicines which are being sold in our country, they are unfortunately, they have a proportion of these adulterated or spurious drugs. So we will have to ramp up the regulations in such a way that the Indians also get quality medicines. So in that note, we will have to incentivize the manufacturers also in order to produce those quality medicines. And that is, we will have to provide them good facilities in terms of loans, in terms of electricity, so that the quality does not get compromised at their own pocket expenditure. And second of all, the inspection will also have to be authentic, sir. It should not do it for an eye wash. The inspector should exercise some amount of discretion in ensuring that there are quality drugs produced. And as far as black marketing is concerned, sir, when we take the cases of remdesivir also, black market happens because of this notion that expensive drugs give us proper results, which is not the case, sir. Expensive drugs need not always give you the efficacy, or they need not always give you the proper results. So there has to be an overall understanding amongst the doctors and the pharmacists and also the patients to know which is a good drug. So they don't have to go blindly by the brand. They can also go for generics which are equally qualitative. So it has to be an overall effort which has to be there on all the
You're implying in a way that the drug control regime in India is not very effective, or our regulatory system is not very efficient to, reduce this problem. Is it so?
So there is always a scope for improvement, sir. I will not say that the drug control regime is a complete failure, which is not the case. We do have certain state agencies which work with all the good intentions, and they work with proper regulations. But whenever the discretion passes on to certain officials like drug inspectors, what they tend to do is they tend to pass the buck and simply give away the approvals without going in for the quality checks. So they have to be addressed.
Okay, I think your combination of expertises and subjects, zoology, this industrial pharmacy, all this put you in a very interesting position as far as this pandemic is concerned. The first thing is that this pandemic is the result of zoonosis, or what we call jumping of viruses from animals. Okay. The second is in terms of drugs and how you can go forward. Given an opportunity to explain the way forward, is how do you ensure better understanding of this human-animal relationship, and also developing antivirals? Just thinking aloud, how would you present a case to the government of India to focus more on these aspects?
Focus more on
this significance of the zoonosis, this problem and reasons, and also, developing antiretrovirals.
Yes, sir. So given an opportunity, if I will have to speak about zoonosis to the government, then the first thing that I would like to say is that there are always chances of seasonal infections. So it is responsible. It is the responsibility of the people and also the government to ensure that the animal spaces in which they are reared. So it could be the birds, or it could be the pigs, or it could be, as a matter of fact, any other domestic animal. So the spaces or the shelters in which we tend to grow them, they have to be hygienic in the first place. So we have to make sure that there is a healthy distance between the between the animals and also the human beings who handle them. So zoonosis, sir, sorry, sir. May I continue? Okay. So the first thing is we will have to address the wet markets or otherwise the animal domesticated centers where we grow them. So that is first thing. And second of all, we have to make sure that the animals are also healthy. They are subjected to periodic vaccinations, and they are subjected to periodic health reviews where they are also taken care of so that they don't become the hotspots. And third of all, we should always be prepared, sir. No matter what we take, no matter what we do, we should always be prepared for some kind of infections, for some kind of onslaught. So instead of panicking or instead of having a reactionary measure, we should have a proactive and a preventive measure which can be resilient in nature. So we should be ready with the data, and we should be ready to handle any sort of disaster that can come. And second of all, if we talk about the production of antivirals, so all of this production of antivirals, or it could be vaccinations, all of them are a sort of they are processes which require long-term investment, sir. They are something that cannot be produced overnight, because in order to develop a candidate of drug, it takes few years. And in order to subject it to clinical trials, it is going to take further more years. So we have to make sure that our supply chain is robust, and then we should actually invest sufficiently in our R&D, which is research and development, and also give the institutions or organizations sufficient confidence that we are going to procure them. And third of all, we have to make our manpower much more skilled, sir, so that they are the ones who can create or generate ideas.
Okay.
So, yeah.
You were a member of this society called RHO CHI.
Yes, sir.
Yes, what sir. Is it? Is it a social, cultural, scientific club, or is it a measure of IQ like this Pi Beta Kappa?
Yes, sir. Sir, Rokai Society is actually, yes, it's a pharmaceutical honor society that basically gives chance for members who have had high scholastic achievement. And it is also a society where it tries to promote pharmaceutical innovations and at the same time improve the ethical practices of pharmacy as a profession, sir.
Okay, very good. All the best.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Sahitya, now the interview is over, the mock interview. And it took almost an hour, 60 minutes, something we have not done. This panel of interviewers has never given to any candidate 60 minutes. So obviously you are somebody worth investing the time in. That is our impression. So we will now give you our individual feedback, one after the other.
Yes, sir.
We'll be telling you our strong points as well as areas where you need to work a little more.
Sure.
Firstly, you are very good in communications, and you have acquitted yourself extremely well. You are well informed in your own subjects, especially the pharmacy or pharmaceuticals or pharmaceutical science. On the whole, there are no chinks in your armor. It's very difficult to find a weak point for you. However, 4 years of absence from India probably does make a little difference to knowledge about India. There may be some gaps. But at the same time, we did not, of course, open Pandora's box. That is, questions about US. 4 years in US also will expose you to questions about US. They could ask anything about what is the original name of New York. I hope you know it. Are you aware what is the...
No, sir. No, sir. I am not aware of it.
It was a Dutch colony, New Amsterdam.
Okay.
When the British took over. Anyway, thank God none of us were in a mood to ask questions about US, but that is, you have to know enough about US. Though you are mostly in what is called the East, you are in the Atlantic coast. I don't know whether you ever lived in California, etc., but anything can happen. There can be questions about when did California secede from Mexico and join USA, or when did Texas become part of USA, or what was the original 13 states which had led the American Revolution, the Declaration of Independence, and where it was signed, and which was the original capital of USA, when did Philadelphia become capital, when was Washington built. That's a Pandora's box. But thank God we didn't ask, but there can be some fellow who will ask. So that is somewhat areas where you need to work on.
Okay, sir.
It could be even on their own political system, Senate, how many members are there, and the House of Representatives, why together they have a Congress, and even about primaries. There are what are called primaries, etc. So anyway, that's one side. The second side is, of course, on the Indian context, you are well informed. Except that, of course, when the Supreme Court judgment came in that Hindu Succession Act, co-parental right of women, the main point they said is, this law which was made has a retrospective effect. Meaning, it is not as though that only those who are born after this particular amendment to the Hindu Succession Act are eligible for a share. Even those who are already born are eligible. So their interpretation is that once you are a lady and once there is an ancestral property, from the time of your birth, you are equated with the other co-parceners, and therefore you will get your share of the property. That's what it is. And of course, we have that famous case pending still in, I think, Madras High Court of Murugappa group. There is a lady, Murugappa had sons. One of the sons does not have sons. It has only daughters. So that lady, I think her name is Sam Srinivasan. She's about 55 years old, highly educated. So she has been fighting her case, saying that the board of directors have prevented me from becoming a member because I am a lady. So that is yet to be decided. But she goes on arguing, and maybe it will be an important case. So barring that co-parcenary right thing and retrospective effect aspect, which you probably didn't know, doesn't matter really. You're not a lawyer. You are not a person who is supposed to know about all these things. But for that, I found no chink in your armor. You are an outstanding candidate. Only thing is, it takes some time for you to warm up. But there is a tremendous clarity in your mind. And ultimately, you wanted peace at home, domestic peace. So needlessly entering into a fight with mother on a trivial issue like GT,
Yes,
obviously,
yes, sir.
it's not worth fighting.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all the best then. The other
Thank you.
panel
Thank you very
members
much,
will
sir.
give you their perspectives. Dr. Gopalgar.
Yes, Sahitya,
Sir.
I agree with what the chairperson has said about your strengths and points where you have to improve.
Yes, sir.
You are quite impressive. Your answers are quite measured and very matured. And you are good at your subject and the areas where you have worked. But then as a point of constructive criticism, I will make one or two observations. I have no criticism actually, but if you have to improve because you are appearing for the interview for the first time,
Yes, sir.
and if your written marks are good, earlier your written marks obviously are not matching the requirement for being called for interview.
Yes,
So if
sir.
your written marks are good, your capacity to handle interviewers is very good, and therefore you will be able to get a good rank. That's my feeling. But one or two, passing references. This Sanchayita case,
Yes, sir.
they're analogous to that what chairman said about Murugappa's daughter. Her father,
Granddaughter, Murugappa's granddaughter.
Granddaughter, yeah. Sanchayita's father, elder son of PVG Raju, hereditary chairman, passed away, and his sons or daughters, he didn't have sons, and therefore Ashok Gajapati Raju. But then government found that something has to be done to dislodge him for political reasons, whatever the chairman said. So they found fault with some vandalism in some temple where he is a chairman, and issued a memo without calling for explanation, sacking him from the chairmanship, Ramatirtham temple and some other temples. And then Sanchayita also pleaded with the government that she is eligible to become the chairperson, and that's how government, based on the request made and based on the condemnation done of Ashok Gajapati Raju, of condemnation that he could not safeguard the security and the interests of Ramatirtham temple, appointed Sanchayita. And basically her question is as to why not female heirs be appointed, because she is the daughter of the elder son between the two, and that's how government appointed. And she also said she has got some awards, Google Championship awards, and therefore she is able to, she can manage the institutions well. So she has been appointed. The question she raised basically is, in a patriarchal society, should we still go by the ancient traditions that only a male person should be appointed? Why not females? That's the question that she has posed. And government, right or wrong, passed orders. But in Ramatirtham case, High Court stayed orders, saying that he cannot be sacked without calling for explanation as per administrative law. That is about Sanchayita and Manasa's Trust and Simachalam Temple. Either thing can be said because, and you also said the bureaucrat who has signed the order, not Sanchayita. Just because Chief Minister says the Principal Secretary or Secretary in charge should not sign the order if it is not legal. So you rightly answered saying that the person who has signed to take the responsibility, saying whatever has been done is as per law, rules, regulations, and practices in vogue. And if he has violated anything, he should give the speaking order as to why some violation of practice has been done. That's about it. And about your answers are well measured, with the exception that steel plant, you came to a hasty conclusion that because of payment of bonuses and higher administrative costs, it has to be paid. Actually, bonuses have to be paid, ex gracias have to be paid as per the agreement or as per the bonus act. They're all statutory requirements. The main reason for Visakhapatnam steel plant getting into this red position is about captive mining status. They don't have captive mines, and therefore they have become not very competitive vis-a-vis the plants where captive mining licenses are given to the same company running the steel plants. So that is agreed by the unions and other stakeholders also. So you can't say that employees have become a burden, and privatization is going to solve the issue. The privatization, the employees may go on strike and stop the operations also totally.
Shall convert into a real estate company.
Yeah,
30,000 acres. They won't produce steel.
Exactly. So therefore, the point is that it's not the employees' staff burden or that are primarily responsible. But you corrected when a probing question was put. You corrected yourself, saying it's one of the reasons. That's fair enough. And when I asked you about US regulation on hazardous waste, you said what is required to be done. In India also, precisely, that is what is required to be done. According to the statute, the waste have to be made inert, then carried to an incinerator, or after incineration, the residues can be put in a solid waste dump site with a secured landfill, with, of course, all the precautions about leachate, collection, measurement, pollution of groundwater, monitoring. All that which is there in US is also incorporated in our pollution control board's rules and regulations. Yes, though you didn't know that the facility is called, in Hyderabad we have a TSDF in Dindigal, treatment storage disposal facility, where all the waste of chemical industries are collected for a fee and managed there by Ramki.
Okay, sir.
And I think, this is what I wanted to, and CFE and CFO, basically, LG did not have CFO continuously for some years. Consent for establishment is one which is given at the time of establishment of the plant. And consent for operations are renewed every year or every 3 years based on the time for which consent for operations are given. So the regulatory body inspects, and if the conditions are fulfilled, the standard operating procedures are implemented well, then the consent for operations will be given automatically for prescribed period of time. Did not get consent for operations, but still they functioned and regulatory body did not mind. And that could be one of the reasons why the regulation was slack and the inspections were slack. And therefore, perhaps it has led to some carelessness and therefore the accidents. Okay, this is what I wanted to say. Otherwise, your picking up of questions and the key issues, the number of parts of the questions you are able to analyze and give measured answers, I think you will do well in the interview. All the best.
Thank you, sir.
First, about positives, your answers are quite mature. And of course, naturally, given your background and also age and all that, they are well grounded in the ground realities of society around you. And there was one aspect, of course, the chairman has already clarified about that the difference, in co-partner ratio. And there is also another area where I wish to advise you is, you tend to take a little longer to come to the point, and probably by choice of right words, you can reduce the length of your response, and you can be more direct and to the point.
Okay, sir.
Not being, once again at the cost of being very cryptic and laconic at the same time. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So you strike a balance between the two. Particularly when I ask you about, the issues of women and women empowerment and things like that. Simply it could have been, the way we socialize our female children itself makes a lot of difference. And it is rooted in our, cultural ancestry and all that. So a few words would have made, the answer. But then you spent quite a lot of time in explaining.
Yes, yes, sir.
So
I'll
think
cut it.
on that you may have to little work on that. So that will save you a lot of time, and also it makes a very impactful response to the question posed by the panel member. And you will be giving a very impressive answer. But I think as other members, chairman as well as the member have said, you are a very good material. I think you stand a fairly good chance, provided you have scored well in the mains. All
Yes,
the
sir.
best to you.
Thank you, sir.
Sachinand Garu.
Sahitya, adding to our members' remarks and feedback, a couple of things I would like to tell you. So whatever is written in the DAF, you must be sure to answer. You cannot say that this. So you wrote that Andhra University clearly. So I am a student from Andhra University. I
Yes,
tend to
sir.
ask questions.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, and we spent, I was 5 years in Visakhapatnam, and so was Miss Dr. Gopal.
Yes,
So we have a great emotional bond.
emotional bondage.
Yes, sir. I'm so sorry. I'll look into what else you want me to see, sir, about Andhra University. I just did a brief research. Who are the famous alumni and when it was established? And I flunked on that Madras presidency. Whatever I got confused and
Actually, it was started in Vijayawada, Bezawada.
Oh, yes, sir.
Bezawada, it was shifted to Visakhapatnam. That's why he called Blazewada. Bezawada. So that's the way he used to play on words. Okay, so the history of that.
Yeah, sorry, just a minute.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I didn't know answer to your precisely the question that you have put. I didn't know the answer.
So that's one aspect. The second aspect is the answers, the impression of what you created by answering two questions about the Sanchita as well as the supporting the privatization of steel plant, that you are not in the way of helping the weaker sections of the society. Or maybe you are slightly
not a weaker section.
Yeah.
She's an exploitative, half Malayali, cannot speak Telugu.
Yes. So that's why our answers should be balanced, and that they must support the people and the lower sections, because the constitution itself is giving so much supporting the weaker sections of the society. So here the impression should be that you are for the people. It's not for the elite sections. So that type of impression has been created by the answers about how you answered. But otherwise, as the chairman said and the Gopal sir said, you are highly matured and you are calculated. The slightly thing is that come to point very quickly. So if you can follow these things, I think you can get very good marks. All the best.
Thank you, sir.
I think, Sahitya, you're very well informed and very communicative. But as I think the common feedback which we all seem to be driving at is you are a bit long-winding and also a bit fast. I heard you say secondly, thirdly, fourthly, fifthly.
Fourth of all.
Okay. So
sorry,
I think you told me. There's nothing. So what I'm saying is you need not be so giving an impression of being so long. More short and crisp answers would be, I think, very effective. because you have all the content and points when you're answering. And otherwise, I think you should do well, because I think you have a good exposure to multiple subjects, multiple areas, geographies, and all that. I hope you'll do well.
Thank you, sir.
Okay,
Thank you very
Sahitya,
much.
you
Yes,
have
sir.
heard our perception of you as a
Yes,
candidate
sir.
for the personality test. Is there
Yes,
anything
sir.
you want to ask us?
Yes, sir. So it is actually related to my DAF, sir. I mean, about my personality also, what I feel is I've been trying to bring the crisp answer, sir. But over a period of time, I've always had this bad habit of speaking more than that is required. So that is the thing that I have been trying to address. So please suggest me some tips, sir. How is it that I can make them more crisp, by writing or by practicing every single day?
Don't worry, you are already your personality is already made up. Don't unnecessarily alter it. You are very good material. Now, while answering, you keep looking at the faces of the interviewers, because it is not via Zoom.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
They are able to get a response through their body language. So, if they appear to be extremely interested in even up to the point of fourth of all or fifth of all, go ahead. But
yes, sir.
If they are no longer interested, they are in a mood to go to some other field, you stop. So, unfortunately, the Zoom interview can never be a substitute for the
Yes,
live
sir.
interviews
Yes,
in
sir.
flesh and
Yes,
blood.
sir.
So, you will
Yes,
get
sir.
a good feedback from their faces, their hands, their eyes, eye to eye contact, etc. So, you don't have to unnecessarily change your personality. You are what you are. So, you be happy with that. At the end of the day, joining civil services is at the ultimate end. Someday, like us, you will also retire and then you continue to live. What do? You have to
Yes,
be
sir.
at peace with yourself.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So you are very frank. You felt extremely empowered the moment you went away to USA. Fair enough. These are all frank
Yes,
answers.
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All
Yes, sir.
surrender. So don't
Okay,
worry
sir.
too much about this.
Yes,
Anything
sir.
else
A
you
short
want to ask us?
supplementation to what Chairman has said. You have been answering, when I said measured answers, you have really measured and you have been giving answers. The interviewer knows that you know the answers and your response is good and positive. Then he would abruptly stop you and go to next question without any question. So that's also an indication. If the body language doesn't help you, they'll also tell you, okay, next. So I think what the chairman said, you be what you are, but then be economical in words, as other members have suggested, to the extent
Yes,
possible.
sir.
So
Yes,
that
sir.
the interviewer has time to test you deeper in variety and depth of interest.
Okay, sir.
Various aspects,
Okay,
and
sir.
in each aspect, the depth.
Okay, sir.
Be what you are, I think, is what my suggestion would be.
Sure, sir. Okay, sir.
Is
And
there
the-
anything
Yes,
else you
sir.
want?
The one question that I have with respect to my DAF, sir. Sir, I filled my father's occupation as finance agent, sir. The one thing that I wanted to ask was, he did a lot of things, sir. He was into this hotel business, and then with my grandfather, he was into some contracts also. But actually, what had happened was, this finance agent also, it's in a small scale, sir. It is not as though he has some license or anything for it. We were only doing some kind of hand loans, that is giving to our relatives and to our acquaintances. So that is what he was doing. But he did not take any license. So in one of the previous mocks, that panelist has asked me, has your father taken any kind of license? Then I said, no, sir, I am not. I don't know of any license. Then he told me that it's an illegal business. So if somebody from the board asks, then how do I justify that?
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
illegal business, that's it. You say that he didn't take any license and he was doing this family business, that's all. Be truthful to yourself.
Okay.
You will not
In
be
any
prosecuted.
In any case, there are two situations. In Telangana, right from Nizam's time, there was a regulation, and one has to take a money lender's license. In Telangana part, even when it was a combined state, there were two sets of rules. In the case of Andhra area, I am not sure whether there is any legislation prescribing a license. So
Okay.
this
There
needs
is
to
a
be
pawnbrokers. There is a pawnbrokers and money lending act in Andhra also. Pawnbrokers and money lending.
Okay. Okay.
It's
We'll have to
okay.
consult
Okay.
the money lending part.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But there's
So,
nothing
okay.
wrong. We did a
you can sort of play it down.
Yes.
Among many things he has done, he also did a bit of money lending, and that was only to those who are known to us and our relations who needed some money for some investments. So he provided that. That's all. He was not a professional money lender who was willing. He opened a shop in Shrab Bazaar and said, "Ichata."
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You played
okay,
down.
sir.
Anything
Okay,
else?
sir. So nothing, sir. It's just that I wanted to ask about that, and I'll look into all the areas that I'm weak, sir. Andhra University or otherwise this pharmaceutical regulation and the industrial this thing and all that. So that's it, sir. Yes.
Anyway,
thank you very much.
My own, I would say, desire was always to see somebody from Visakhapatnam get into the civil services. Of late, nobody has got into it. It's mostly some Biharis and North Indians. And the few are from Hyderabad only. So I hope you will fulfill my desire. God bless you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Okay.